Hi, good Monday. Welcome back, and thanks for being here and being a part of the show. I gotta check. It was a long weekend for myself, the 9th day of October. And before we go any further, probably need to clarify that just a little bit. I was off Friday, to be perfectly honest. It was fall break, as most everyone knows, and we took a little road trip, completely unplanned, unprepared for, unpacked for, and just kind of took off with Andrew as his fall break. Lacey couldn't come home from school because she had some events and a lot of studying to do. I'm very glad to say that she has dedicated a lot of time to thus far. I haven't even told her yet that we went anywhere, to be perfectly honest. But we took off and drove until we actually ended up in Virginia. But I do have what I think is one of the coolest stories that I've had in a while to show you that I brought home. Especially if you're a fan of the beach, playing at the beach, sandcastles might be your thing. Oh, kids, I got a good one for you tonight, and I'll be glad to show you that in more detail. We're going to spend several minutes talking about, I believe, almost 20 individuals indicted by a McGoffin County grand jury last Thursday. We'll go through that list. Also, the McGoffin County Sheriff's deputy in a serious altercation while I was gone. I've got that report and much, much more to talk about, and I've already got some really big and some other news and reports that we're working on for the rest of this week, and not just getting caught up, but just, that's just how it runs on a daily basis around here. You will find it interesting to note a beautiful weekend for all here in the viewing area and for those on the East Coast as well. And while we're talking about an impending cold front that's going to change up our weather here pretty soon this week, on today's date in our weather history, well, here's some little bit of food for thought. On 1989, on this very date, we had a record low, which still stands today at the Jackson Weather Service office, of 31 degrees for nighttime lows. We're not going to make it that cold tonight. And we've still got some 80s and 70s in our forecast for you. And on this date in 2000, another cold snap in eastern Kentucky, but it was actually daytime highs which were greatly affected. 49, 50, and 51 degrees on October the 7th, 8th, and 9th of the year 2000. So we're not anywhere close to either one of those scenarios, but I'll tell you what we are close to in your weather department in just a few moments. Let me go ahead right now and go straight to our first local report, and that is getting caught up on several indictments returned by a sitting McGoffin County grand jury, the largest batch of indictments that I've had possibly in years here in McGoffin County at any one given time. Theft, assault, drug, and other charges all now levied against well more than a dozen individuals, some facing multiple indictment charges as well, as were returned late last week. Trooper Paul Johnson with the Kentucky State Police testified before a grand jury that going back to May of 2015, he stopped a vehicle that was driven by Howard Smith of Hager Hill, who was said to be in possession of methamphetamine, charged with a felony count of possession in the first. He has since been indicted on the same charge, as well as being indicted on driving under the influence of alcohol or drugs and possession of drug paraphernalia. Two people from Paintsville were indicted. William Webb was said to be the driver of a car that was stopped on Old Burning Fork Road by State Police Trooper Zach Haney, going before the grand jury to say that he and officers found 119 grams of crystal methamphetamine, nearly $700 in cash, a gun, and other items that were all seized. Webb indicted on a 9-count indictment, charges including trafficking in a controlled substance being methamphetamine, possession of a handgun by a convicted felon, DUI, failure to maintain insurance, as well as other traffic violations, while his passenger, Lily Ann Webb, was also indicted on trafficking in a controlled substance, complicity there too for methamphetamine, 2 counts of possession of a controlled substance in the third degree for other drugs that were found on her person or in her possession of drug paraphernalia, and a prescription not in its original container. 36-year-old William Cody West of Pikeville was indicted on his fourth offense, DUI. This relates to a traffic stop in April of this year, when, as I understand, he was stopped and was behind the wheel, intoxicated, under the influence. Trooper Zach Haney charging him and thus him being indicted on DUI, fourth offense with aggravated circumstances, driving on a DUI suspended license, possession of drug paraphernalia, no insurance, and some other traffic violations as well. He was charged with fourth offense after 3 DUIs, all in the same year in 2008, but this being the fourth offense DUI within a 10-year period. Also, per a state police case, James May of Salyersville, 29 years of age, indicted on a possession charge, possession of a controlled substance in the first degree for what was believed to be methamphetamine and tampering with physical evidence. Trooper Jeffrey Paul Johnson, the trooper who testified before the grand jury. Another Sagersville man indicted in two separate cases, two unrelated cases it does look as though. Gerald D. Williams, 33, of Sagersville, charged with theft of identity of another without consent. Reportedly, per the indictment, he had used information claiming to be his brother, representing that he indeed was his brother and not himself, and thus charged with the theft of identity charge. That was in February of this year, while later in June he was indicted on account of failure to comply with sex offender registration in the first offense. Also indicted per a Kentucky State Police investigation and prior arrest was Joshua Standifer of Oil Springs here in eastern Kentucky in the viewing area in neighboring Johnson County for an assault with a baseball bat, if my memory serves me correct, against a Jackie Perkins, after which he is now, after being initially charged, indicted on an assault second-degree charge by the state police and the McGoffin County grand jury. These four individuals were charged as it related to a case of several baggies of methamphetamine that weighed collectively over 2 grams, as well as several items of drug paraphernalia, other drugs found in a mobile home, in vehicles, on their persons, per an arrest that took place by the McGoffin County Sheriff's Department. McGoffin County Deputy Neil Adams, as I can recall in the initial report, responded to the residence of a Jeremy Reisner on Route 40 and found several individuals inside. A total of 7 charged that day, I believe. 4 here indicted by the grand jury, those being Eddie O. Howard of Sagersville, as well as Jared Nicely, Jeremy Reisner, and Terry Lewis, all from the area. All indicted on charges of complicity to trafficking in a controlled substance, being crystal methamphetamine, complicity to possess drug paraphernalia, as well as I can tell you that Eddie Howard was indicted on being a persistent felony offender in the second degree, as was Jeremy D. Reisner, who was also indicted on a persistent felony offender second degree charge, as well as the methamphetamine complicity and paraphernalia charges. And same exact charges leveled against as well Terry J. Lewis, who is actually from the Nicholasville, Kentucky area, per the address listed on her indictment. And Jared Nicely, too, indicted on the same charges of trafficking, possession, and being a persistent felony offender, while his was a first offense PFO charge. A traffic stop on Route 114 near the BP gas station on September the 10th resulted in initial arrest and charges of a David Jeremy Caudill, and now his indictment. The Paintsville man at the age of 38 was indicted by the McGoffin County grand jury on possession of a controlled substance, methamphetamine, possession of a handgun by a convicted felon, as well as complicity to possess drug paraphernalia. He was actually found to be in a vehicle that was also occupied by an Amanda R. Mead, who also was listed in indictments returned this past Thursday. Mead from Van Leer, indicted on possession of a controlled substance in the first for meth. She, too, in possession of a handgun by a convicted felon. Possession of drug paraphernalia. She was the driver and also indicted on driving on a suspended or revoked operator's license. She also lied to police about her name and address and was indicted for giving a peace officer false information and other traffic-related charges. McGoffin County Sheriff's Deputy Jonathan Holbrook testified before the sitting grand jury about a case which he opened upon the initial arrest of what was a total of 5 individuals on the day of August the 12th of this year at a residence on Painter's Lick. He actually confirmed with me today that 3 of the individuals have all accepted plea deals in the case, and their cases are about to wrap up, while 2 individuals have not. Clyde Minix was indicted after being one of those individuals today on a several-count indictment, including possession of methamphetamine in the first degree, possession in the control of a controlled substance in the third degree, also possession of a prescription not in its original container. He tried to run from authorities. He was charged with fleeing or evading criminal mischief in the third, possession of pot, 6 counts of drug paraphernalia, resisting, menacing, illegal possession of a legend drug, as well as public intoxication. You may recall in that report that I ran after that arrest, he was one of the individuals who jumped out a window and ran, and then had to be actually tased, I believe, if not once, twice, by the deputy before finally taking him into custody after resisting for a significant amount of time. 2 men were indicted per the same investigation. You may recall it was back in July of this year that I reported that day or the day after of a resident of Route 40 coming home to a mobile home that she rented and finding her landlord and another man there. They had apparently broken in the night before, went through a window, had slept inside the residence, both said to be under the influence. One highly combative with authorities who responded to the scene after the homeowner went into her residence after finding the two outside in the front yard when she initially arrived, but then finding her home ransacked inside. While authorities were on scene, Trooper Zach Haney and other officers, I can recall that they also found several guns that were stolen from the residence inside the car that the two had arrived in. Matthew Gibson, who was said to be that homeowner with McGoffin County ties but a Louisville address, was indicted on burglary in the first degree and public intoxication of a controlled substance, while the man with him was also indicted on burglary in the first and public intoxication of drugs, identified as Stephen Dobson, also with a Louisville address. Dobson also indicted on disorderly conduct charges in the second degree. A Campton man identified as Larry H. Creech was indicted on trafficking in a controlled substance. That's the first degree felony charge of methamphetamine, possession of pot, and possession of drug paraphernalia after found to be in possession of over 8 grams of crystal meth. It was a tip that led authorities, the McGoffin County Sheriff's Department and Deputy Neil Adams and Sheriff Carson Montgomery, to the back branch area where it meets 378 here in McGoffin County. They found him sitting beside the road on an ATV, believed to be there with the sole purpose of trafficking in crystal methamphetamine. Frank London of Macomb Township, Michigan, also arrested and now indicted after a tip that initially came into the Sheriff's Department back around September the 2nd of this year that he was in possession of drugs and at a residence without the homeowner's permission. After going there and responding to the complaint, he was charged and now indicted on possession of a controlled substance, first degree, first offense, possession of a controlled substance in the third degree, 2 different counts, and possession of drug paraphernalia. He was believed to be in the possession of heroin, Xanax, and other illegal drugs and narcotics. And one other indictment for which I do not have any accompanying photographs or visuals, but McGoffin County Sheriff Carson Montgomery testifying before the grand jury in the case of Keith Blevins of Wellington, Kentucky. I believe this goes back to a case of stolen saddles, which we reported on back around October of last year. So it's been practically or almost a year now since the offense on the 26th day of October of that year, but I can still recall covering it. He was indicted on charges of receiving stolen property under $10,000 after being in possession of property, and I do believe it was saddles, if I'm not mistaken, that were stolen from a Gary Helton. I'll be right back. Much more than diesel specialist, Black Smoke Performance is turning out excellent auto body collision paint and repair results with free quotes and estimates on everything from insurance jobs to that ding you got in the driveway. Custom lift kits, bed liners, winches, and accessories, and full diagnostics and repair on anything gas or diesel, from brakes to fluid changes to major auto repair. If you want it fixed, lifted, painted, customized, or just maintained, just call on the team at Black Smoke Performance in Dixie of Sagersville, 100 May Drive, or 349-8785.
Just when you thought it's gotten as good as it gets better. Appalachian Wireless now offers unlimited text, talk, and 2 gigs of data for as low as $45 a month. But wait, you can also get 5 lines on 8 gigs of data for just $145 a month. Both great deals on the Appalachian Advantage plan, and the savings keep getting bigger. How big? $25 per month, less than the other guys. Taxes due at time of sale. See store for details. Better service, bigger savings. That's today's Appalachian Wireless, an East Kentucky network company.
Wanting you to have a healthier life means providing access to quality, affordable health care. And to do exactly that, Hope Family Medical Center offers full dental care with Dr. Pratt and his team, a pediatrician team of 3 doctors and nurses and moms, complete health care by family physician Dr. Kelly Pratt and nurse practitioners Mildred Sizemore, Gail Faria, Shannon Conley, and Heather Blair. Behavioral health services with Kimberly Davis, with in-house lab testing and results, in-house x-ray, and pharmacy, and all the caring, knowledge, and experience that these medical professionals represent
at Hope Family Medical Center.
Go green, save some green on this propane-powered 11-passenger Ford Econoline. And check out the under 5K specials right now. This 2011 Malibu remote start loaded, very affordably priced at $49.95. This 010 S10 low miles, low to the ground, $49.95. This 07 Saturn Relay hauls a crowd, $49.95. Call today for quick pre-credit approval, $0 down, low income approval, and most payments under $200 a month at Gateway Motors in Sayersville, 349 cars. Parkway Pharmacy, now open earlier from 8 a.m. until 6 in the evening to better suit your schedule and lifestyle and to help you get better and live a healthier life. And if allergies are bogging you down, they're armed with the very best in over-the-counter relief for adults and your children. Reach owner pharmacist Jesse Rudd and his assistant pharmacist Megan Castle and their staff at 8 o'clock in the mornings or at 349-4400. I've still got a fun one to show you in just a few moments. A little something I brought back from Virginia over the course of the weekend. But for now, a Montgomery County Sheriff's deputy was involved in a serious altercation over the course of the weekend. We've got a few other reports from over the weekend that we're following up on as well. But for tonight, I can tell you about the arrest of a Matthew Sparks. This arrest actually goes back to Friday while I was off, and I believe it was a hectic day for law enforcement there for a while. This is the first case we'll cover, still looking into the rest. But Jonathan Holbrook says that while he was traveling on Coffee Branch in the Grape Creek area Friday afternoon, sometime around 2:30 or so, he saw a man coming from around the side of a trailer, and the man looked at the officer and just took off running. So the officer then had certainly reason to believe that there was an issue there, and upon recognizing him, also knew that he had an active warrant on him, that being Matthew Sparks, through probation and parole. Holbrook says that he got out of his patrol car, and while he was searching for Sparks, who he had already identified, he found him lying in a weeded area behind a trailer. And once Sparks saw the deputy was coming after him, he tried to get up and took off running again, but stopped. And he was then trying to reach into his back right pocket, says the deputy. And this is when things really escalated to what could have been a certainly dangerous situation. Holbrook says that he advised him to put his hands up and do not reach for anything any further. And while walking back across the ditch toward the police cruiser, Sparks stated that he had something on him that he needed to get rid of. He said he had a gun, and he had a gun in his pocket. At that time, Holbrook says he instructed him not to move and told him to get on the ground, but he refused to do so and then took off running again and was reaching back towards his right pocket while doing so, reaching for the gun. That's when Holbrook says he deployed his taser, putting Sparks on the ground, but Sparks still refusing to roll over and comply, would not go onto his stomach as being instructed, and actually had to be tased 2 more times before he complied with the officer's commands. And the altercation still kept going on the ground while trying to get the subject into cuffs. After finally getting him into handcuffs, Holbrook says he removed the gun from the pocket and threw it away from their area, and that still he was trying to get up and run, kicking at the officer, spitting at the officer, trying to headbutt the officer, all the way back to his cruiser, still being that combative. He also said that at that point he took the subject to the ground, and then that's when he was able to finally call dispatch for some help getting to a radio. He says that went on for 20 minutes or so from start to finish. Backup soon arrived in the form of Deputy Reggie Gosser and Officer Sager with the Sayersville Police Department. They were finally able to put him back into the back of the cruiser, and they found him to be in his possession after finally getting him into custody. Methamphetamine, also marijuana, several needles also were on his possession as well. He was indicted on charges of, arrested on charges of wanton endangerment in the second of a police officer, possession of paraphernalia, possession of marijuana, resisting arrest, menacing, and of course other serious charges as well, including assault in second degree of a police officer, fleeing, evading a police officer on foot, possession of a firearm by a convicted felon, and possession in the first, a felony charge for being in possession of crystal methamphetamine. I'll be right back. A tire more than 25% low, about 8 pounds, makes you 3 times more likely, and worn-out tires 11 times more likely to be in a tire-related crash. Don't take your or their safety for granted. Come in for a free inspection, 6 months, no-interest financing, the best price and best selection at Conley Tire in Staffordsville.
I'm attorney Don McFarland. We all know that times are hard. Jobs are scarce. Most people that I know are struggling to support their families and make it through each day. Now imagine that you get seriously hurt while working on the job, and the insurance company for your employer refuses to pay wages and benefits while you are injured and cannot afford to pay medical expenses, household bills, and put food on the table to support your family. I can help. If you are being wrongfully denied workers' compensation benefits that you rightfully deserve, then give me a call and let me go to work for you. 349-9000.
What you're looking at is literally a one female owner 99 Dodge Ram with 77,000 miles. Zero rust, rips, tears, or wear anywhere. Think of the money you can save driving a like new truck, not to mention the savings in taxes and insurance. You won't find another one like it. Or come see this 2013 2500 Silverado HD loaded, only 90,000 miles. This 2014 Grand Caravan, it's an RT model, 72,000 carefully driven miles. Or this 2007 Kia Sorento, 90,000 miles. It's a four-wheel drive and priced to go today at Broadway Auto Sales in Paintsville. The only difference in these washers and mowers from new is the incredible low price, and the same goes for tools, electronics, jewelry, games, and more at Parkway Gun and Pawn, where they buy and sell gold and silver and loan cash every day on just about anything worth $1. Stop by on Parkway Drive or call 349-PAWN. Well, you've been asking for them, and they're finally here. A huge new selection of bourbon and bow ties, many classic bangles and new designs, earrings, necklaces, and little bourbons and bow ties for the little ones. The best selection they've ever had. And their fall decor is some of the best they've ever had too, and that's saying a lot. Gorgeous fall colors to warm your home from the front door to the Thanksgiving table. You simply must stop in and see everything inside the seasonal shop in downtown Sayersville.
Home energy use is on the rise. Every year, new devices, more devices. We are using more energy. Simple Saver helps you trim peak energy usage and pays you for being energy smart. You can receive up to $50 in annual bill credits. Over the years, the savings really add up with Kentucky's Touchstone Energy Cooperative's Simple Saver. Licking Valley RECC, your Touchstone Energy Cooperative.
Like our 100% safe and secure mobile banking app at Sayersville National, we're always working to make your life a little easier. And our mobile deposit feature gives you more freedom and more time to do what you love the most. Just open the app, confirm the amount, and click. You're done. A safe, no-hassle way to manage your money from anywhere in the... Well, you get the drift. Now get the app at Sayersville National Bank. 349-3131. One other item of business before we go any further, and that is that EPA Administrator Scott Pruitt was in eastern Kentucky today. He was in Hazard earlier today, where he made an announcement about something he plans to put his name to tomorrow. He says that the Trump administration is going to roll back. They're going to do away with and completely abandon the Obama Clean Power Plan that was instituted to help reduce global warming. And Pruitt says that he indeed will sign the proposal tomorrow to, quote, withdraw the so-called Clean Power Plan as part of the administration that has been holding back our coal-powered plants now for quite some time. We understand that the EPA is expected to call this Obama-era law, if you will, null and void beginning tomorrow. Coal producers are already chiming in and saying that this indeed is going to have a positive effect on the industry. Just happened earlier today. We'll know certainly more about it tomorrow. I know much more about sand sculpting now. Always been a fan. I even took a class with Andrew back when he was little on the beach and learned a few tips and tricks, and nothing that would ever get me to this point. We took a little road trip for fall break with Andrew. That's why I wasn't here on Friday, as I told you. It ended up in Virginia Beach, kind of unprepared, unpacked, and just showed up. And we showed up just in time to catch the end of the Neptune Festival and the end of a very prestigious international sand sculpting event, to which I did not get there in time to talk to any, and a lot of them I couldn't even speak their language, of these sculptors and artists. But Jeff Warner, a volunteer with the Neptune Festival, who's also along with the Governor's School for the Arts and has been there in that capacity for the past 6 years as a volunteer, told me as much as he could about the 44th annual festival. And of course, we also know who won. regardless of what ribbon was placed on which sculpture, they were all breathtaking.
This year we've got representatives from 11 different countries. I think we've got 32 or 33 different artists from all over the world, including the United States. There's sort of a circuit of professional sand sculpture competitions throughout the world. So the people that do these are professional artists who do this all over the world, do other kinds of competitions. The Neptune Festival administration, they sort of look into the different artists, they research them, and they invite the ones that they think are the most promising to compete in our competition here. We've become one of the largest and most prominent sand sculpting events in the country.
And that, by the way, for the younger generations, before I go any further, well, represents a portion of a mechanical typewriter, in case you don't get it at first. The 44th Annual Festival, the International Sand Sculpting Championship, was represented this year by 32 of the world's most talented sculptors, creating unbelievable works of art for our viewing pleasure and for, of course, the competition. They've always had a sand sculpting competition with the Neptune Festival, but it has certainly evolved, to say the very least. In fact, it's now a premier professional masters championship, as it has been at Virginia Beach now for 33 years. Solo and team sculptors that literally only have hours to create these masterpieces.
They start sculpting on Tuesday, and they have 3 8-hour periods over 3 days. So it's a total of 24 timed hours to complete each work. Right now, just in this event, we're closing in on 32,000 people who've just seen this event itself.
And while they're all breathtaking, some leave you just simply feeling as though it's hard to comprehend that they're simply sand and water. This is the sculptor's choice. A Latvia artist titled this sculpture, "Let Me Fly." First place in the solo category went to a Canadian artist, Dragons, as it's called, beautiful and mystical, adored and feared. In countless stories have they appeared, breath of fire, wings for flight. Who can resist their magical might? Second place in the solo category was Sweet Dreams by a Canadian artist, Malang, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, Beauregard. Safe and sound, a comforting zone of underwater sweet dreams. Third place went to, in the solo category, an Italian artist, John Gaudi, who created I Don't Know, Doc, I Just Feel Like a Nut, something that everyone could relate to. In the team category, this was an obvious first place choice. Pixie Dust, a United States of America artist. Meredith Corson Doubleday and her husband, I believe husband, Dan Doubleday of Florida. Pixie Dust, as is commonly known to us, they say is actually a liquid. It's its most prized possession, of course, among the woodland creatures, but when an aurum tree dies, it becomes a stump, and then it gives back more water than it ever took while it was alive, and they say it's a very enchanted water, and when tossed up into the air, it glistens like gold as it dissipates, and it is said to be magical in many different ways. And this is Pixie Dust, and this is a 360-degree sculpture, mind you. It is breathtaking from every single view. Second place in the team category, a Russian artist, or a pair of Russian artists. We Trust was the title. We trust in our kids, it says. We believe they will make this world better. And our third place team winner was a Canadian team for Thoughts on Water. A lot of work, a lot of skill, a lot of experience, and a lot of sand.
It was something like 40 truckloads, over 400 tons of sand from Currituck, North Carolina.
Hi, I'm attorney Jeff Lovely. When hiring an attorney, experience does matter. For over 20 years, I've been representing clients throughout Eastern Kentucky. We are a full-service law firm, representing clients who've been injured in car accidents or at work, representing clients who need to file bankruptcy, representing clients who've been charged with a crime. For all your legal needs, contact my office when it matters. We have 2 locations for your convenience. In Sayersville at 349-4522 and West Liberty at 743-1965.
They're rolling out big, beautiful truck bodies every day, the best America makes in steel and aluminum, with their largest ever local stock of angle, sheet, round, I-beam, expanded, steel, and aluminum in several different finishes for whatever you're working on. And if the dump body you're driving needs parts, they've got them in stock. And if you need a big project fabricated from scratch, they've got you covered at Logan in Salyersville since 1904.
Oh, the sun shines bright on my old Kentucky home.
The sun bathes us in the power of its warm glow and brightens our world. Now it can power your life. Cooperative Solar brings you hassle-free solar power from your local Kentucky Touchstone Energy Cooperative. Renewable, affordable, easy. Licking Valley RECC's Cooperative Solar. Join the community. CooperativeSolar.com.
Well, I am certainly out of time, way too much out of time already to even go into our calendar. I've got a new Trail of Terror at Lakeville put together by a group of students and their families for the Halloween season. I'll tell you about that. A lot of other calendar announcements. I do also want to pass along that I was told that Douglas Arnott, 58 of Royalton, passed away yesterday. Arrangements incomplete at this time, but being made at the McGoffin County Funeral Home. Let me tell you real quickly about your weather forecast, where we've got rain coming. Not just we, but a lot of folks picked up more rain yesterday than they had for the entire month of September. We've got some more on its way. We've still got some above average temperatures to deal with. Deal with like it's a burden. Tonight, 64, cloudy, some dense fog. Tomorrow, a 50% chance of showers. We've got another front coming. Clouds and showers will start tomorrow, but the warm air is going to stay in place. 80 on your Tuesday, 79 on your Wednesday. We will dip afterwards on your Thursday, but look where we start to go. From 35 and mostly sunny up to around 80, 81, 82, maybe even for your weekend. And another nice run of some beautiful weather. I think we've been spoiled a little bit, but we're also very deserving of it. That's all my time. Thank you for being here. We'll see you back here tomorrow night. More exclusive news and coverage then. Hope you're here for it. Good night and thanks for watching.